Hey guys. All right. So have you ever had a leader where you were technically allowed to talk to them, ask questions, all that kind of stuff, um, but you never really felt safe going to them? This episode is going to talk about that. We're going to talk about being accessible and approachable as a leader. And between me and you, people desperately need leaders like that. Now, there are a couple things I want to clarify. There's being available, being accessible, and being approachable. So, available. People can reach you, call you, text you. They know your email, they know your contact information. Accessible, being physically present where people can walk into your door, walk into your office, and you know physically speak to you. And there's approachable, where people can feel your emotions as they're talking to you. They can feel what mood you're in, um, what kind of just mental state you're in when they're talking to you. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about, where let's say on one hand you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and they're listening, they're attentive, they're focusing on you. And then there are the people where you're talking to them and they're just, can you leave me alone, please? Like, why can't you just figure this out on your own? And then there's a third one that is just staring at you or kind of just doing something, while you're talking and just kind of not giving you attention. Um, there's those, you know, I, and maybe for some of us, myself included, we have been that leader that has acted all three different ways to our employees or to our teammates. Um, I have been guilty of this many times because, albeit as much as I try and, practice the things that I say and, walk the walk, talk the talk, I was born with my father's patience. I've been trying to work on it for years. Um, but it is something, that I do realize that I struggle with from time to time. But, I've really, this beginning of the year has been so very hectic of just, we have this really big, massive change coming at work that is, it's just going to help the team tremendously. And we've been trying to work on it. We've been trying to, um, you know, get things to sync up, to get our projects done, to get our tasks done on time. Um, but that's my baby. I need to make sure that it's all ready to go for, when we start, our production. And it's a really big feat. And I'm one of those people that I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure that we got everything um, right, tight, ready to go. That it just provides a better experience for when everybody has to you know do these changes that we're making. Um, and I've been locked in. I've been focused, and there were these things that my teammates were doing that they would make little mistakes here and there. They would do something that didn't really fit in with within the bounds or within the scope of what I was needing them to do. And I after one too many mistakes, I grabbed one of my teammates aside. I was like, "Hey, did I not make my intent clear? You guys know you can always come to me to ask for questions, ask for clarifications, ask for directions, or I'll help you in whatever way I can that'll help you be successful in what not just you're trying to do for me, but what we're all trying to do." And their response was, "Well, I didn't know what kind of mood you were going to be in today, so I didn't want to bother you." That hit hard. And that they had every right to call my ass out because I wasn't being the leader that they needed, um, especially with everything going on. Man, that hurt. I mean, they called me out, and rightfully so. rightfully so. So I had to check myself. This past weekend I did some thinking. I was like, man, I've really stepped back on my leadership duties, and I put more effort into just, you know, go get 'em mode, that I neglected that part of my job. I failed my team in a sense of I wasn't acting like I was on the team. It was do this, do this, do this, do this, do it well. I need to focus on my own stuff. It's a struggle of mine, and I think many of us struggle with that, right? We can't all be 100% on it all the time, and if you say you are, you're a dirty liar, because it's just not like that. It's not like that in the real world of people who have emotions, who wanna get things done, and who wanna do things right. It's impossible. But thankfully, I have a team around me that they know that they can call me out if they need to, if it's going to support the team as a whole. I've made it very clear that it's not just on me to give people feedback, but y'all need to give me feedback and be honest with me. Um, but that's because I've created an environment where people understand that they can do that without like repercussions or without me like retaliating or anything like that. Which if you do that, stay tuned. There's a video on that and stop. But when this teammate told me that, I was like, you are 100% right. It's I thank them for calling me out. I thank them for being honest with me. You know, it's it's a very humbling experience. So anyways, I took the weekend, I thought about it and I reflected and I was like, you know what? I need to recenter myself, to resync, to refocus on all of my duties, not just the task completionist, the Excel, the writing SOPs. And that's one part of it. But there's another huge part of the job that is being there for my teammates and being their safety net. Um, being the one who can help them walk through problems and find solutions, things like that. That's me. That's my job. It's not I don't get to pick and choose. I don't get to turn one off and, turn the other one on or, just anything like that. It's we just need to remember and we need to understand that there's the 3 A's: available, accessible, and approachable. You know, People need to feel that they can come to you for guidance, for assistance, for clarification, for asking any kind of questions, or maybe just to even talk or vent. Um, we as leaders need to make sure that, yes, we can be available. They can call us, text us, email us. We are accessible. Our door is open. We're not closing ourselves off to the world. We're not just kind of isolating ourselves, but we are approachable, which means when somebody walks into your office needing you, be attentive, knock off the resting bitch face, the RBF. I have it sometimes. Empathize with them, smile with them, let them know that you're engaged, listen to them, talk, conversate, be there. Be there at that moment with them because people pick up on that. And that's truly what makes us approachable as leaders. Um, you create that access point for your team, that central hub of knowledge and resources. You know, if you've ever been in that situation where your leader or manager or supervisor has clearly just didn't have the time of day for you, that sucked. That did nothing for you. That answered none of your questions. That was disrespectful, to be honest. Um, think about how that made you feel. That made me feel like complete shit. Made me feel terrible that A, that's how my employees felt, and B, I didn't pick up on it. But again, we're all human. I cannot I cannot tell myself that I'm going to be perfect because I know I'm not, but I can make sure that I have a team behind me that's supporting me just as much as I'm supporting them. So, we've all been through it. We've all had those days where it's like, I just need to focus and get my shit done. Um, I really hope nobody bothers me today, or I put a sign on the door that says "Do not disturb, email only." And I think the when you do that, people come to you more than they ever really did in the past. And I really think it's funny because I have some colleagues of mine that like to do that, and I, God, guys, it just never works. It's the worst thing. It's like it's almost like a sign that says, "Everybody, come talk to me and ask me every question that you can think of under the sun." But what really helps when being approachable is being consistent in your presence. And what I mean by that is if you and your team work in separate locations, it's easier for them to come and find you and approach you and ask you questions if they see you. At least in my opinion. If they don't see you for 2 weeks, and I mean really don't see you for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people just naturally gravitate to the people that they can see, that they can put eyes on and just, "Hey, I need to ask this person this question." We need to think about how often our teammates are seeing us, how often are we interacting with them, how often are we, just, you know, being out there with them. It's a big thing when people recognize that, you are not just somebody operating up here, but you're with a team, you're interacting, you're mingling, that really goes a long way with people, and it really helps ease, whatever anxieties or misconceptions or tensions that they have with approaching a leader for questions and things like that. It kind of just it helps if you build rapport with them, right? It's all about building relationships in the end. Um, also recognize your face, um, and your body language and your tone of voice. Your tone of voice carries a lot of weight, but your body language carries the most weight. And I could be going like this, and for me, this is comfortable of just listening, being attentive, and really engaging. At least for me, but to some people, it might be kind of turning them off from having a conversation. You kind of dissuading them from continuing to talk to you. You seem closed off. At least that's what I've heard of in the past. But You know, I do notice that from time to time, and I'll open up my hands, I'll put them to the side, I'll put them in front of me, or I'll start to use my hands and make gestures while I talk, and things like that. But I really think that probably most of us don't realize it that we're doing it, but even though we mean well and we're being attentive, we might be doing something that's kind of throwing the other person off to where it's like, okay, do they really understand what I'm saying, or are they really listening to me? Or do they even really want to give me the time of day? It's important to be mindful of those things. But with that being said, we do have to create boundaries. We can't be accessible 24/7. You know, it, however people would like us to be that, we can't be, right? We have our own things to deal with. We have our own responsibilities that require, our full attention and things like that. And it's important that your teammates know those boundaries. Um, I've told my team, I do have my kind of flex hours where it's 2 hours every day. I set aside time on my calendar to uh, have that time allotted in my day to get my things done, check emails, you know, um, work on SOPs, work on various other things that I need to get done that require like me to physically do them. Some things that I can't necessarily delegate. Um, but my team knows that those are kind of like my sacred hours. Obviously emergencies, everybody knows to come talk to me if it needs to get to, to my level of attention. Um, but after that, I'm out the door, I'm on the floor. Um, people know that after like wait, aside from those times, I'm golden. Come to me, let's talk. We can sit down. If you need 5 minutes, I'll give it to you. If you need an hour, I'll give it to you. That's to me, that's way more important than isolating myself and just focusing on what I have to do. And we all need to recognize that. But it's really important that I think that we set those boundaries and make sure people understand that. If we tell everybody, hey, my door is always open, anytime, day or night, call me, text me, walk into my office, this, that, and the other. There has to be some sort of, like I mentioned, boundary, just kind of like a hey, I'm here for you most of the time, but understand that I need to have time allotted to do the work that I'm responsible for. And I think when people know that, it's easier to gauge, the best time to come and ask somebody for help or assistance or for clarity or those kinds of things. So I have a couple questions for you. Who in my life might be hesitating to come to me right now? That's a big one. And it's a big one for us to really think about and to really, put some thought into it. Um, is it someone on your team? Is it one of your kids? Is it one of your spouses? Or is it your spouse, not one of your spouses? Um, a friend, whoever comes to mind. Why aren't they approaching me with something? Question number two, what might what might they be experiencing from me that I'm not noticing? So, instance, for me, my RBF, or my lack of attention as they were talking. I noticed that, when people were coming to ask me things, like I drifted to wanting to do my own thing, and I drifted to, uh huh, uh huh. We've all been there. Um, are you always rushing to get things done? Um, do they only talk to you when something's wrong? Do I check my phone or do I do any other thing other than giving them my attention while they're talking? Um, and number three, what is one simple signal of welcome that I can send this week? You know, um, it can be 15-minute check ins with your team. How are you doing? Going around the shop floor or your office floor and just saying hi to people, shaking hands, asking about the weekend. It was Valentine's Day, or did you have a significant other? Did you guys do anything? Did you do anything fun? You know, just being a person, being a human being. Yeah, even I forget to do that sometimes. Um, but just find one way to approach your team members to let them know that they can always approach you, and being comfortable with you, having a good relationship with you, make sure that they know that and that they understand. You don't have to fix everything tonight. You don't have to completely change who you are as a person, like that. It takes time, but start thinking about these things and start asking yourself the hard questions like, am I somebody that my team members can trust to come and talk to? It's a big thing of leadership. It's a big thing in the relationship, is being somebody that your teammates can come and talk to you, being somebody that can be attentive and understanding when people need it, can give clarity when it's needed, and it can also set boundaries when needed. And that's a really, really, really big thing that I think we can all learn from and do better at recognizing when it's or when we're failing and readjusting is necessary. So, with that being said, I want all of us to take a step back, reflect, and try to figure out and understand who we are as a leader in terms of being approachable, being accessible, and being available. Which one are we truly? Um, and just having the courage to humble yourself and to change if you need to, to work on yourself if you need to, because if you're not approachable, your leadership experience is never really going to go far. That's one of the biggest things that I can tell you, that once you learn how to do this and once you learn the signs of, am I being approachable? Am I doing what I need to make sure that my team can come talk to me? Um, if you learn how to master that, it'd be great for you. If you never pick up on it, and if you ever think that you just never need to readjust and people need to fix fix themselves to come talk to me, bad move. Fix it, and like I said, humble yourself, because people should not have to change who they are to come and talk to you. People should not have to be afraid to come talk to you. You need to recognize and understand that the way you sound, the way you look, and the way you move all play a vital, important role in your um, journey to being a successful leader. So, with that, I hope you guys learned from this. I hope you guys took something away from this. Um, if you got called out, that's great. That's what this is. I called myself out. And if if this resonated with you, subscribe to the podcast. I do a lot of this. I'm going to be calling myself out, calling people out, you know, giving my experiences, and, trying to communicate on a deeper level with leaders and people who just want to be the most successful leader and person that they can. So thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.